Trying to make sure that this is propagating online properly. There it is. Trying to I hear myself. This is propagating online properly. There it is. All right. Greetings. Let me just get this set up for you here. Move this brightness down and move my camera down slightly, and I should be pretty good to go here. Get that out of the light slightly. Here we go. Okay. So, yesterday was one of the most frustrating days that I've had on this channel since we started, and it's mainly because of where my reeds were at and how poorly I felt sort of playing through my clarinet and not sounding like I wanted to. So today, one of the things that I'm absolutely going to sort of my own to make sure that I feel really good before I get started today, because it's important to correct those mistakes when they happen and to not get too bent out of shape about it. One of the great things about Tiger Woods when he was really Tiger Woods in the early 2000s was that he had a remarkable ability to make a mistake and then forget about it. Like, golf is not a perfect game. You're occasionally going to make errors, just like music is not a perfect game. No matter how much you're prepared, shit will happen. What makes the difference between great players and good players is great players and great athletes have this ability to forget it. If you dwell on it, you're going to make another mistake. So Tiger Woods could hit a shank off the fairway and then go and approach that ball and realize that that was now its own separate individual problem. It no longer matters how that ball got there. Here is the current problem to get it to where it needs to go now. So the same thing with us. Like, if you make a mistake, there's nothing you can do to go back in the past and pick that mistake up. But what you can do is forget about it and just keep going on. And if you're not able to get past it and put that behind you, then that's a skill that you need to develop. So I'm going to do that on a larger scale today. Give myself every opportunity to be successful rather than rush through things like I had to do yesterday. So the first thing I'm going to do is just spend a little time with my voicing and my tone quality for a little bit. First, I'm just going to play a bunch of 12ths in order here. as always, that F to C interval is the canary in the coal mine. Like if I'm not blowing correctly and my voicing is not right, then that interval is not going to work out. So now let me start to play these a little bit as written, longer, sort of little fermatos on the first two notes of those, the 12th, the two notes of each exercise here. A breath in between each slur, medium forte. Yeah, if I had a complaint to make about this reed, it would be that it's ever so slightly a little buzzy. It's got a bit of a little too bright of a tone quality, but it actually has good bounce and good response. So in this room, I'm not going to worry about whether this is a reed that I would play on Carnegie Hall, at Carnegie Hall. But I am concerned that I want to just have a nice, loving approach to myself today. So the next level is to give the first note, the bottom note, the fundamental, a nice full forte start, diminuendo to piano, and then make the 12th. So. So it's moving along fairly nicely. You want to do a couple of things. One, really dwell on what the quality of those upper notes are. If they're not ringing, if they don't sound slightly brilliant, if they sound slightly dull and lifeless, then you're not quite spinning the air well enough. And the other thing that I make sure that I do, when I say I take a breath between every slur, I do. But the first thing that I do is I make sure that I exhale, and then I inhale to start. Okay? You don't want to keep piling fresh oxygen on depleted oxygen, because the depleted oxygen sucks all the good stuff out of the new oxygen that you're putting into your lungs. So your best course of action, a lot of times, if you're going to deal with a time where you have a large amount of time to take a breath, is to make sure you exhale first. You know, obviously there are times when you have to take such a short breath that you can't do that. But there are definitely times in music where I use a breath to actually exhale and not inhale at all. Okay? If I know that I want to get to the end of something and have all of my breath gone, and then only have the time to take in a new breath before something big, I make sure that I exhale all of the air that I have going in beforehand. All right, so these reeds are both a little shrill, but also both have a really good bounce. So I'm just going to stick with them. So feeling pretty good about where I'm at in general. So I'm going to start my technical practice now. Starting with the modes in F major. Setting my metronome to 80 with an eighth note subdivision on. I'm just going to go up and down the horn in 2 octave segments within the key of F major, 1 flat, B flat, all the way up and down, everything else natural. Starting on the lowest note possible on my horn, low E, 2 octaves up to E, back down to E, all in the key of F major, which would make this low Korean mode, I think. Now I've just gone up the horn, up and down the horn, in all notes of the full range scale that I'm about to do here in a super duper organized fashion, making sure that my fingers feel really comfortable, that I'm even, that I'm beautiful, and that my fingers are just picking them up and putting themselves down exactly where I want them to. Medium, mezzo, not too forte, not too piano. Looking for tone quality, not tone quantity. But still, even though I'm not playing terribly forte, I can really feel the air buzzing underneath my fingertips in the bore of the instrument. I really, really feel that vibration happening inside. And if you're not blowing in such a way that it's that lively inside of your instrument, then you're not blowing fast enough. So let me switch my reed to a slightly harder one here. And when I say slightly, I mean majorly, but that's okay. Let me pull this bad boy down slightly. Yep, still somewhat buzzy, but that's okay. Got good bounce. I'm just going to play on it. All right. So now I'm going to go to the actual scale here. My goal here today is 160 on the metronome for the scale, which sounds like this. That's where I want to go with the scales, and 140 with everything else. At that tempo, it feels under control, but trust me, it's going to get fast. So here we go. I'm going to try to do four of these full scales in one breath. Okay. That's harder than I thought. Okay, I mean the reed is harder. Let's try it again. Same thing. Okay, just add a breath. Not too bad. Just want to keep those fingers moving. Just let it go. 120, same thing. 4 reps per breath. Even though this reed is a bit harder, I'm finding that my upper register feels like very different sounding than the rest of the registers of my instrument, which is not what I'm looking for here. So I'm going to try this other one to see if it's any better. Here's 140. I know it's a little softer, a little easier to blow on, but is it going to give me enough teeth? Am I going to get enough bounce back from this to make me happy is the question. Probably not, but here we go. 140. soft for me, but let's do this. All right, 160, here's our goal. Just keep it nice and easy. Try to drag the metronome if you can. Put all those notes where they're supposed to be. Yeah, there's a lot I like about that, honestly. Like, everything is kind of lining up exactly where I want it to. Yeah, don't have a huge problem with any of that. Here we are back at 100, back with the subdivision on to move on to our broken scale or arpeggio here. All right, so we're going to leave this first note off because I don't care about it. And first we're just going to do it a bunch of slurs, okay? Always thinking about this subdivision. Then that's how you get evenness, is breaking it down towards the next beat instead of away from the previous. 2 reps per breath, 2 breaths per tempo. Not bad. We're really looking for that cleanliness of technique. No blips in between notes. Really just deadly accurate. Okay, now we're going to go to 110, which is the only time when I use an odd number, or not an odd number, but usually I'm going 100, 120, 140. I put 110 here so that I could do a little slur 2, tongue 2 in 3 different variations. Slur 2, tongue 2, tongue 1, slur 2, tongue 1, tongue 2, slur 2. 3 reps in that order. Try to make that as simple and as matter of fact as possible. Not too staccato. Staccato means separated. It doesn't mean short. So you don't want to be going. First of all, that leads to not playing evenly. But second, you even in articulated notes, even in staccato notes, you want as much of the actual note to sound as you can, even if you're making it short. Okay, you don't want to be going. There's nothing, but I can make that almost as short and put a whole lot more tone into that. Just by thinking about the note instead of the articulation. I'm pretty sure that those were basically as short as each other. All right. So here we're putting back the slurs on, going to 120. Taking it easy, lots of big air between these big intervals. Now let's just extrapolate everything up to 140. Sounds fast, is fast, shouldn't feel fast if we've been doing this the correct way for 5 days now. And years, really, years. I've done this so many times. Like, this is why I do it from memory, because I just did it enough times. I think it's important to do it from memory, obviously. So try to keep it slow. Backside of the metronome. Fill every beat with sound. So that's plenty fast, man. Plenty fast. But I'm not impressed by that. I'm impressed, if anything, by how even it is and how clean it is. The speed is meaningless. I could talk faster to you, but it doesn't mean anything unless I'm saying something. Okay? If you add musical import or musical thought to your technical practice, otherwise the technical practice is almost meaningless. You've got to make it applicable to what you're doing in real life. All right, here we are, interrupted scale. The only thing of note here, really, is that as I go up to the high F and G, I go a half hole all the way. There's my G. I love this fingering here for the high G. It's so good. And it comes in handy when you have to do, say, an A flat major scale, or minor, but say A flat major, and to have this first finger going and getting to the A flat is simply a matter of putting on your side two keys just like a low F sharp. So that would be like... See how nice and in tune that already is? There's no reason to worry about anything else. Now, it could be cleaner here in my D flat to C, but whatever. Who cares? The other way you would have to go would be like this, right? It's just too much. But in this case, I never leave the fifth partial. I never have to worry about going up over another break. I feel like there's enough for me to worry about here, especially at the speed I'm going to go for. So everything at some level is all about making it more efficient for your friend here. That's me. I'm your friend. Here we go. Let's see if I can make my clarinet my friend. 2 reps per breath. Interrupted scale, 100 with the subdivision on. slow myself down up there. Don't allow yourself to rush ever. Fix it if you do. Second rep. All right, 120. Subdivision off, same thing. No stress, only chill. Yup. All right, here's our goal. 140, same idea. Keep it nice and slow to the metronome. Keep your body calm and chill. Just extrapolate all of these ideas up a level. That's all it is. Yeah, maybe I have 10% better than that, but pretty good. Pretty good for a daily kind of grind. All right, let's move on to thirds. Same idea, no articulation. We've already done that. Take the repeat, take a breath, take the repeat. 100, subdivision on, as always. Right, 120, subdivision off. this reed is not the most facile going over that top break, but it's not terrible. I can kind of give it a little force. Giving it a little kick. All right, let's finish this at 140. Here's our goal for the week, for the day. Goodbye, F major scale. Okay, I don't hate that. I don't hate that, and I like most of it. So in this day where I'm trying to love myself more than I did yesterday, I'm going to give myself that leave. It feels pretty good. I think I know F major. Indeed I do. Okay, so we're going to move on to the reinforcement of all of these ideas in the most constructive possible way, and that's for the Fritz Kroepsch. Also our last day of doing this for a while, or at least in this key. Tomorrow on to D minor. A pretty nice key overall. And yeah, let me swab out here. Always from the bottom. Yep, never from the top. Make sure it's always nice and organized and even going into your horn so that you don't have it bunching up a whole bunch. No pun intended. All right. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go on to the next. This is where we're going. Let me... Yeah. So you can see that these sort of get progressively faster by just virtue of how they're written. You know, if you start at the same tempo, you'll start with 4 notes per beat, and then 6 notes per beat, and then 8 notes per beat, and then sometimes even more. Okay, but so right now, what we're going to do is we're going to try to do it all in one uniform tempo. This is a technique and a way to practice these that I learned from my friend Scott Andrews, who is the principal clarinet player of the St. Louis Symphony, and who was also the last great student of the best clarinet player of all time, in my opinion, Harold Wright. And this is how he learned it from Harold Wright, which is you take your metronome and you set it at a tempo, in this case 60. His goal usually, as this one is 60. Which means when you play 16th notes, it feels pathetically slow. But actually, if you're trying to do it correctly, it's friggin' hard, okay? Because to do it at a slow tempo, to do these 16th note patterns at a slow tempo, and to have them all be exactly even, and exactly in tune, and exactly legato for 4 reps in a completely naked, slow tempo, already sounds harder, doesn't it? Okay. So, you know, even though these first 16th notes exercises may not be difficult with my fingers, they are difficult with my brain and with my air. I want to organize them in the most beautiful fashion and play them as though I were playing them for an audition that I wanted to win badly. Okay, 4 reps, four times you play these before you get to the repeat, and then you finish with the final bar. So here we go. Let's see how perfect I can be. Give a better view here. right? Seems so easy on one level, is, but again, to play this nakedly at a slow tempo and try to nail it all 4 times, it's actually really, really hard. It's all about the brain. It's all about where you're coming from rather than trying to force this. You're really trying to make it a musical thing. 55, okay? Okay, so imagine I didn't love that, how that high D came out the second time. Let's make sure I take care of it, these 2 reps, or I'm not done with this, okay? There's that F fingering again. G sharp or A flat. Vent the A key with just by curling your finger a little bit. It's beautiful. Feathery will come out on you every single time. 56. First staccato, second legato. Same thing, a little more legato. You want to make sure that you really have your thumb off of that register key pretty quickly when you come back down. All right. 57. We're going to keep the same tempo, moving to 6 notes per beat now, just like we said. Articulation, very matter of fact, not too staccato. Just separated lots of note in the articulation, not a lot of articulation in the note. Okay. There's that F fingering again with that A key being vented. That's some good shit. All right, 59, keeping it really easy, really even as much as possible. not too bad. Now as we move into the 30-second notes, let's really just keep it nice and even, as slow as you possibly can while still playing in tempo. You don't want to rush if possible. It will get out of control. Rushing implies a loss of control, and it's not musical. Well, see, that's plenty fast without your help. All right, let's move on. 4 more and we're done. Bada bing, bada swing. Here we go. Back into sextuplets. Use this finger for G. 1, 3, 1, 2. Register E flat key. Comes right out beautifully in tune with no effort. All right, let's keep going. We're getting there. All right, now I'm going to move it down to 40, which is going to keep my subdivision the same. It's going to change the tempo. Okay, but instead of 30-second notes at 60, I have 30-second notes at 40, but now there are 3 subdivisions per beat. So no matter what, I'm doing 16th notes at 120 if you break it down. Okay, just change the from 2, whatever, you know what I mean. Did 3 of those. I'm going to do 1 more. Wow, okay, good, not bad. I'm going to do my final bit of this by trying to I'm going to try to push this until I fail. I'm going to start it at the same subdivision, or the same tempo, really, for the 16ths. In this case, 64th notes. And I'm going to push the metronome up further and further and further until I can't play this anymore, okay? I want to see where I fail, okay? So here's the normal tempo. Very common kind of Alberti bass pattern for the clarinet here. You'll find this a lot in Mozart and stuff like that. All right, 35 makes this 140 to the 16th note. All right, here we start to see where we're going to fail. This is 160. Yeah, so the third measure is almost impossible by this time, but that's okay. Here's 45. This makes this 180. It's getting there. All right, I would officially call that a fail, but let's go one further. Here's 200. Should be able to do the first two lines. Should fail on the third line. That's just so ridiculous. That's so funny. Okay, very good, very good. I definitely feel better about myself today than I did yesterday. I was patient. I was kind to myself. I didn't give myself a hard time for not having the best day yesterday, because you know what? That happens, but you need to find a way out of it, okay? You need to find a way out of it that's patient with yourself, that's loving to yourself, and doesn't add pressure to yourself that you're not getting it right on the day. If you know that your process is correct, the when is going to arrive. When will get there as long as your how is really, really good. And some days you realize that it can't be a constant to expect a constant every day you're better, or even every day you're as good as the day before, because some days you're going to have one of these, okay? But it's how you find your way out of this situation that makes the difference between somebody who's going to continue to nosedive into something bad, or somebody who's going to be able to transcend their humanity a little bit and just not worry about the fact that they're imperfect. So you want to have like mostly this, you're occasionally going to have this, but like the stock market or the recent COVID, you want it to kind of have a general curve to it, in case instead of this, you want it to have this kind of curve or this kind of trend, okay? Only way to do that is to be patient, to be deadly serious, and to be very, very Very disciplined. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming by again. As always, any questions, hit me up either on YouTube or at chris@opengrecords.com. chris@opengrecords.com, and I will answer you. Okay? See you tomorrow. Love you.